Last episode, I said you now know how to tell whether it works, and that the harder question is whether it should exist. This is that question, and here is the shape of it. Finished things are hard to kill. A half-built thing dies quietly of exhaustion somewhere between the estimate and the third sprint, and nobody has to be the person who killed it. A finished thing arrives demoable and plausible with somebody's name on it, and killing it costs a conversation. Generation got cheap, so now everything arrives finished. The fix is not more willpower later. It is deciding the death conditions before the birth. That failure has a number on it. S&P Global asked more than 1,000 enterprises about their AI work, and 42% said they had abandoned most of their initiatives that year, up from 17% the year before. Around 46% of proofs of concept were scrapped before ever reaching production. Take the caveat with it, that is a survey, self-reported, and abandoned means whatever each respondent thought it meant. What survives the caveat is the shape. Those projects were not filtered early and cheaply. They were killed late, after the building, by exhaustion rather than by criteria. And the base rate says most of them were never going to work anyway. Kahovi and colleagues published the success rates of controlled experiments at the companies that run the most of them. About a third of ideas at Microsoft do something good, 15% at Bing, roughly 1 in 10 at Booking, Google Ads, and Netflix, 8% in Airbnb search. The better instrumented the product, the lower the hit rate, because the measurement stops flattering you. In one contest, 3 of 21 experts picked the winning design, and they were the experimentation people. So most ideas fail. Including yours. Including this one. So, the technique, the pre-commitment stack, 3 steps, all of them before you build. Step 1 is the pre-mortem, from Gary Klein. You do not ask whether this might fail. You state that it is a year from now and the project is dead, flatly, as a fact, and then you write down why. The move is grammatical and it does real work. Mitchell, Russo, and Pennington found that describing an outcome as already certain, prospective hindsight, raised people's ability to generate reasons for it by around 30%. That is a small lab study from 1989 about generating reasons rather than about outcomes, and it is enough. You are not forecasting, you are harvesting the objections that politeness would otherwise eat. Step 2 turns those reasons into kill criteria, and the format is Annie Duke's, states and dates. A state is a condition you can observe. A date is when you will look at it. Both, or you have nothing. A criterion with a state and no date is a thing you will keep almost checking. A criterion with a date and no state is a meeting. And the test of a real state is that somebody who disagrees with you could read it and reach the same verdict without you in the room. If a criterion needs your interpretation to fire, it will never fire, because on the day, you are the one interpreting. Step 3 is the ordering, and it is Astro Tellers, from X. To get a monkey to recite Shakespeare on a pedestal, do not start with the pedestal. The pedestal is achievable, so it feels like progress, and at the end of it you have an excellent pedestal and no monkey. Attack the hardest assumption first, the one most likely to be false. This got worse, not better. Pedestal building is now nearly free, so you can have a polished interface, a deploy pipeline and a demo by the end of the afternoon while the one thing that decides whether any of it works is still completely untested. So, the suggester, and this is the hinge of this series. We have spec'd it, read it, oracled it, tested it, evaluated it, and budgeted the reviewing of it. Nobody has yet asked whether it should exist. So, the pre-mortem, written out. It is the finale, and this project is dead. Why? Because the agents rewrote every draft, so it saved nothing. Because it invented policy confidently and somebody believed it. Because it was accurate and they still did not trust it, so they stopped opening it. Because the checking it needs costs more than the typing it saves. For reasons, and only one is about accuracy. Now the states and the dates, bound to real numbers, because we measured this thing rather than guessing at it. On the 50-ticket golden set, the suggester came in at 62% acceptable or light edit, 31 of 50. Judge and human agreement was 90%, 45 of 50, after the rubric rewrite. Assertion failures, 0. So, here are the criteria, all 3 of them. 1. Acceptance or light edit stays at or above 62%. 2. 0 Tier 1 Oracle violations on the redaction path, no exceptions. 3. Judge and human agreement holds at 90% because a judge that drifts makes the first number meaningless. The date is the finale, we check on air. And the monkey here is not the interface. The error analysis behind those numbers had 19 failures, and 11 of them were one pile, a 30-day refund window the model invented and stated with total confidence. That is the hardest assumption in this product, that a system which does not know the policy can be stopped from asserting it, and that is where the work goes first. Last episode's tiering helps, because the suggester now has a written policy, redaction is Tier 1, drafting is Tier 2, dashboards are declared exempt. A system with a written policy can be judged. A system without one can only be argued about. There are two ways to write criteria that never fire. The first is the movable line, where the number was 62, it came in at 58, and the number quietly becomes 55 because we have learned so much. Pre-commitment exists precisely because the person who reads that result is more invested than the person writing this. The second is the missing date, which is how projects die of exhaustion rather than of criteria. Both are answered the same way, by who is in the room and what it costs them. At X, Teller pays people for killing their own projects, and that is the real insight. If killing is career damage, your criteria are decoration. So, the self-check, and it takes 10 minutes. Take whatever you are building right now and write one metric and one date. Not a hope, a number somebody who disagrees with you could read. Not soon, a date in your calendar with a meeting on it. If you cannot name the metric, you do not know what this is for. If you cannot name the date, you will find out when you are too tired to argue. Missing either one, and what you have is not a decision. It is an enthusiasm. And this episode is not exempt, the suggester's numbers are written down, and the finale reads them out, whichever way they land. The exercise, this week, run the pre-mortem on the thing you are most confident about. 30 minutes, alone, in writing, and convert the top 3 reasons into states and dates. The artifact is the kill criteria one-pager, the pre-mortem prompts on one side and the states and dates form on the other, linked below with this episode's receipts. And you will know it worked the first time a criterion fires against something you wanted, and you honor it, and nobody has to have the argument. Which leaves one thing missing. A kill criterion tells you when to stop. It does not tell you whether to start, and stopping is the cheap half. Next episode, the number on the no.